Well, it has been a mild fall so far, but sooner than you think the mercury will be dropping. And here with everything you need to know is City News Chief Meteorologist Natasha Ramsahai. Hey, Natasha.
Hey, Faiza.
Hey, listen, this is one of my most favorite chats of the year. I think I've told you this before, and I know you put so much work into telling us what our winter could possibly look like.
Right.
But let's start first at the beginning with the Niños, El Nino and La Nina. We always hear about both of those terms here when it comes to seasonal forecasts.
Yes.
What is it saying this year?
Yeah, I'm starting with this because it is really like one of the biggest drivers of North American winter. So a refresher on what it is, what La Nina is, because we are under a La Nina advisory. Typically, these trade winds, they blow this a big pool of hot water westward towards Asia. And what's happening with La Nina, though, is the trade winds get even stronger, pushing it further and allowing this cold pool of water to come up from beneath the Pacific. And that sits there. And that has an influence on what the jet stream does over North America. And I said we were under a La Nina advisory, and we are seeing it. These are current ocean temperature anomalies. In other words, how much above or below seasonal that water is right now. And there's a big pool of blue, and that means, yes, we are well below normal. And so that La Nina advisory that's in place now is going to impact the jet stream and our winter, but things are likely going to change. I think what we're looking at here is the first half of winter is going to look very different than the second half of winter because this advisory may be dropped by January.
And we're going to get to that question about what the verdict is this winter.
Yes.
I want to rewind here a bit because so much of your work goes into these conversations that you and I are having. I'm wondering how hard it is or easy is it to come up with a winter outlook forecast, especially in a country like Canada where it's different everywhere.
It's massive. It's just a big piece of land, right, in the middle of water. And so, first of all, I guess a bit of a disclaimer. You know, we look at seasonal forecasts, and there are just so many things to look at. There's a number of signals and teleconnections between the atmosphere and the ocean that go on. Some of them are big influences on North America, and some of them are just really hard to predict here as we go over the next few weeks and months. Some of them change day to day, so that's what makes it really difficult here. The other thing is because Canada is so big, the east is going to be very different than the west and very different than central Canada. And the strength of these signals also plays a factor into, you know, when we're trying to come up with our exact forecast. The other thing too is these seasonal forecasts, it's really good for like commodity traders and energy sectors and farmers and crops, people that are trying to plan crops. For you and me, what it means, it's a little bit of fun, but I'm going to say climate and the long range seasonal forecast always determines the clothes that you buy, and your day-to-day weather forecast determines what you wear. So I'm saying still go ahead and buy the winter clothes.
And also, how many vacations are we going to need if it's a harsh winter to be escaping to the sun? How, or are there other signs that you kind of look at, you consider when it comes to what we're hinting for winter 25, 26?
Yeah, so I used the word teleconnection, right, earlier. And what it is, it's that connection between the atmosphere and the ocean. And there's so many of them, like El Nino or ENSO, which is the El Nino Southern Oscillation, is one thing that oscillates back and forth. There's another one here in the North Atlantic. And what we have been seeing this year is a big pool of cooler than normal water. And this is coming off of years of hot water over eastern and northern Atlantic Ocean. And what this tends to do is exacerbate the cold in eastern Canada. So we may be looking at some frigid temperatures across Atlantic Canada, more so than usual. We also take a look at things like how much snow is there in Siberia in the fall. Higher snowpack here can impact the polar vortex. I know we're all familiar with this term now, and we know that it drives in that cold air. Now, this is nothing new. It always is there. The polar vortex is this pool, large area of cold air aloft that sits at the poles. A strong jet stream will keep it in the poles, but what is going to happen when the polar vortex drops the cold across southern Canada is you get a weaker jet stream. And so again, these are the teleconnections we're talking about. The ocean can impact the jet stream. The jet stream will impact the cold pool of air that comes down here from the polar vortex. And if I localize this a little bit for southern Ontario or for Ontario, we take a look at what the Great Lakes water temperatures are doing right now. All 5 Great Lakes are running well above average. They're running warm. So if that polar vortex really kicks into action here, and I will give you the official forecast in a minute, but that cold air moving over this hot water and warm water, remember we saw like 100 centimeters and 150 centimeter snow squalls last winter? I think that is going to be a big factor for southern Ontario. A lot of snow at times and a lot of snow squall action is expected this winter across the Great Lakes.
Uh-oh. I always think if we have, you know, a winter that's super cold and we get a lot of snowfall like we just had previously, that the next winter is going to be a bit easy on us. Doesn't
No,
seem
it doesn't
that
work like that.
It doesn't work like that. And you're here to tell us that, because obviously there's so much work that goes into determining what the season's going to look like. And we are at that question right now. What is the official verdict for winter this year?
Okay, official verdict. I'm going to split the winter into two halves. So I think the early winter weather pattern is exactly what we were talking about. That polar vortex is going to be active. I think we're going to get a lot of cold shots of air coming down across Manitoba, Ontario, and all the way out to Atlantic Canada. Lots of cold, lots of snow from November to January, whereas the West Coast will likely have this ridging pattern. The jet stream will kind of like bubble up north of British Columbia, and so mild and dry conditions are expected there. That's the first half of winter. Here's what I'm forecasting as we go from January to March. A lot of that cold is going to be pulled back up north and further west. So Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, the prairies getting into the bulk of that cold along with northern Ontario. Southern Ontario, including Toronto, likely on that jet stream. We could be looking at milder, rainier conditions. I don't like that the jet stream will be right over us, because that also could give us more freezing rain and that mixed precipitation type as well. Places like Nova Scotia getting into the warmer air, but now that colder seeps into BC. So I think the second half of winter will be colder for the west, but milder for southern Ontario. And I think that mixed precipitation is going to be a problem for the first few months of 2026.
I love how you're able to break that down for us by region and time frame as well. Last question for you. Some people are not going to like me for asking this question, because we are still October. We aren't even at Halloween, but I'm going to ask it because it's on the minds of some people. Is it too early to ask if it's going to be a white Christmas?
I'm putting my tree up on November 8th. It's in my calendar, just letting you know. I love Christmas. It is my favorite. I want to just go to talk about climatologically speaking. Yes, it is too early to say whether it's going to be a white Christmas for certain cities, but I think what is concerning is the trend that we have seen over the last few decades. All of these numbers, I've hand-selected a number of cities here. The chance of a white Christmas is decreasing simply because of climate change and the warming patterns that we have been seeing. Toronto now, over the last few years here, compared to like the 60s, 70s, and 80s, we have a 30% less chance now of seeing that white Christmas. Regina, 16% less chance, and Halifax, almost a 40% less chance of seeing that white Christmas. So the chance, unfortunately, is going down, but we'll wait till closer to the day to give you the official white Christmas forecast.
Oh, you know I'm going to keep asking that question every single day until December 25th. So much work goes into this. As I said, these are always my favorite chats because I love winter, and you set us up beautifully. Natasha Ramsahai, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.